Hello, it's Scott Manley here with another look at Star Citizen. Now, there's been no official updates to the hangar module, but there's been a bunch of stuff discovered and a bunch of changes on my end that I feel that it's worth coming back and looking at this. First of all, someone discovered this secret level hidden in the data files. You can edit your Star Citizen client to include this platform floating in space, and moreover, with a little bit of mission editing, you can actually spawn every single spacecraft model in the game. Now, even with every single spacecraft model in the game loaded, you'll see that it's actually quite smooth, and that's the reason is I upgraded my graphics card to a Radeon HD 7970, which is essentially the same as the R9 2080X, but right now it's about $20 to $30 cheaper. Anyway, the other really big feature about this, which you may have guessed by now, is that I now have control of some of these spacecraft with the joystick. So there I am, lifting up and heading into the sky, leaving the platform behind, and heading towards the planet Earth, which is just hanging in the sky overhead. Now, this planet does seem to be moving rather quickly. If I was to travel towards Earth at this rate, it would I would be traveling at several hundred kilometers per second, but the spacecraft in this test are not nearly that fast by any means. The Earth is floating over the platform and is about the size of a deluxe hangar. In fact, I'll wager that there are people with deluxe hangars that are in fact larger than the planet Earth in this model. We have guns, but the sound effects are obviously placeholders. Not every ship has guns that work. This is the 325A. Now you can see there's a Hornet, the Avenger, all sitting on the platform there. You can see also some glitching on the sky. That's the bloom effects, which don't always work in space. We have a little asteroid belt to fly through if we like. This is me traveling at around top speed, and I suspect that this flight model is very, very basic. It's more or less a placeholder for mucking around. I would not take any I would not take the performance of this as any indication of how the spacecraft will ultimately fly. I only have access to pitch and roll operations, and yes, if you hit the asteroids in the 325s and the Origins, then you just bounce off them. Now, also in this level is a Hornet military-grade fighter, which has like 6 chain guns attached to it. Note the landing gear that just retracted from underneath me. There's also the stars in the sky are real stars, incidentally. We have these targeting reticules which pop up everywhere, and I'm not sure how to turn those off. But we can fly around. The guns do work on this one, and the turret will track according to your mouse motions, while you have to fly the spacecraft with your knock into the asteroid there. You have to actually fly the spacecraft with the joystick and target with the mouse, which makes things very hard. Let's try that again. Yes, there we go. So the Hornet model actually breaks when you collide with things. You see I've managed to break a wing off, although that Gatling gun is hanging stubbornly on there. Now this is the Aurora, which flies, just as well. The 3 flyable models, as far as I can tell, are the Aurora, the Origin, and the Hornet. The Hornet, we are expecting to see a brochure for these this week, in the next couple of days. There'll probably be, as I understand it, there'll be 2 new models that are slightly improved, and there'll be a third one, which is a limited edition only available for 1 week. I believe, okay, we're flying through the asteroid belt, and again, this Aurora doesn't have any damage animations or anything, so if you collide with asteroids, you just bounce off. So much for the Hornet commercial. The Hornet commercial shows a Hornet basically avoiding the Aurora and eventually the Aurora crashing, but clearly the Hornet is at a disadvantage because if it crashes, it dies. Now, coming into land is, it's more or less a case of coming up just over the surface, and then you press F to get out of the command module, and you'll watch this, you'll see the animation, it just falls to the ground, assuming you're close enough to the surface. If not, you still get out of your seat, and you better hope that you're upright, because otherwise the animations go all weird. Another thing that's interesting about this level, there's so many cool things to talk about. So this is the Constellation, which is actually too heavy to fly. It doesn't have engine animations. But you'll remember that they messed up the lighting in the current hangar. Well, I think one of the reasons that it's performing so well is because the lighting is essentially a very minimalist model. I think we have essentially flat ambient lighting on the interior of the Hornet, or of everything. But it's nice because it lets you see the whole interior of this and the exterior. It lets you really appreciate these models without the without the lighting of the hangar messing things up. The Constellation does look rather nice, even although, yes, I try my best and it will not move. It refuses to budge under its own power. Regardless, we can jump out and take a look elsewhere in the ship. It does look a lot nicer, to be honest, with the lighting on here. It looks more Star Wars. It looks like the blockade runner at the start of Star Wars, all white and shiny in the interior. Now, the Avenger, with the Avenger, you have to actually be careful you get into the pilot seat. There's 2 seats you can actually get into, but only one of them has joystick controls. Now, the Avenger does not have engine animation, so when the cockpit closes, then, I can rotate it with the joystick, but pressing the acceleration key, which is the plus sign, incidentally, nothing happens. But with a bit of finagling of the joystick, and with the crew gantry still attached, I can, in fact, roll this, contrive to get some air with it, walk it into the sky, and we are now airborne. Oh, no, we're not again. Let's try again. And now we're airborne. We have vaulted into the sky, and we're drifting slowly away. There we go. We have managed to launch the Avenger on its maiden voyage. Of course, that does leave us a problem because now we have nowhere to go. If we get out, well, there's an interesting thing. When we get out, something happens and he gets like this red blood effect around him. So that may be some indication of features that are appearing. But yeah, he just now floats around, unable to get back to the base. He can travel in a 2D plane, but there is no vertical control that I have found. So you pretty much have to reload the hangar now. You can't get back to these spacecraft and go and chase that down. Now you just fly around EVA style as you watch the Avenger float away into infinity. Yeah, good thing there's air in space because, he doesn't have a helmet on. Anyway, stepping back inside the Hornet cockpit, I discovered that if you push button 2, then you get these displays in the bottom left and right. One looks like a beanstalk style radar, and the other looks like some sort of damage display. Obviously, those circles are supposed to be targeting reticules, but really the only thing I have for them right now, the only thing I have to say about them right now is they're very annoying because they're huge and they're all over the place, and I don't know if there's any actual functioning targeting system. But you can see what their ideas are here. Although I would say that be careful because none of this is actually representative of the final game. I'm pretty sure the vehicle physics is some sort of CryEngine default behavior. There is a small amount of inertia, but it flies a lot like an aircraft. There's no strafe controls or anything like that. And as I said, you only have pitch and roll, and you can bounce off of things. The Hornet does have damage animations, as I pointed out. You can lose wings and things like that, but you can actually destroy the whole ship if you fly into something fast enough. It also has lots of guns, you might have noticed. I'm not sure if this is representative of the Super Hornet, but there we go. Yes, so crashing in leaves you floating in space like a frozen corpse in EVE Online. You can take control and, pan around maybe, but you can't move anymore. You can admire the stars, which, are actually our night sky. There is the constellation of Orion, huh? Anyway, the Freelancer, the Freelancer works in this. It looks kind of nice with the lighting models removed, but of course it doesn't move itself. It has no engine animation as far as I can tell. Despite my best efforts, it refused to budge. However, I did open the back of it, and since I was able to fly or drive a Grey Cat into the back of it, I thought, what's the next biggest thing I could try putting in that back door? Well, we have these Auroras sitting around, and I wondered, could you actually fly an Aurora into the back of a Freelancer? Well, there's one way to find out, or this is the best moment to find out. Doing science, huh? Where are we? Got to find ourselves a little Aurora. Look at all these spacecraft and look at that frame rate, which is refusing to be absolutely terrible. Okay, let's pick the plain one. I think this is the Aurora Essential. I'm not sure. They just published a new brochure, basically, which includes a couple of models that we have descriptions for and designs for, but they're not actually available for purchase. You have the Aurora Essential, which is a downgraded version of the Mark version, and there's also the trader version that comes with a bigger cargo bay. Anyway, look, we can fly around and use the mouse to pan down and look at our collection of spacecraft. Admire how much of a space-rich person I am, although I cheated to get there. So let's into the back of this. We are going for successful docking, and nope, doesn't appear we're not going in. Oh, but we are pushing it. Maybe we can make this Freelancer fly after all. Come on! Full speed ahead. We'll get you into space one day. We know you want to do that. Yes, your dreams of flight have been realized. Now we have a Freelancer. Oh, yep. Okay, maybe I should have been more careful there. Now it's spinning out of control. Yes! First Freelancer flying, huh? Yes, you may have seen some other videos, but I don't think you've seen the Freelancer flying around like that. It's kind of nice. We can get up close to it and watch it as it gracefully cartwheels through deep space. And yet again, note the heads-up display is only rendering when the model is in its way. Of course, you know, Robert's Space Industries are probably going to get really mad at me for posting all this glitchy stuff, but honest, we love you guys. We're totally forgiving, you know. This is really exciting and we love to see this, and this should not be considered a negative on your software, because we all know it is early days and there is many more amazing things to come, we hope. Just keep working. Don't bring out the lawyers, right? Lawyers will just waste time. Let's get up close to this thing again. I spent a lot of time chasing down spaceships, trying to fly close to them. Not having yaw controls really kills me, to be honest. I have a joystick which has a rudder control, and I would really like it if that actually worked. There we go. Anyway, heading back, I thought, there's one other spacecraft that I was unable to get off the ground, and that is the Constellation. Now, it doesn't have a cargo bay that I can fly into, but maybe if I give it a nudge, I can make this thing... Well, I can send this thing on a voyage to the stars and thereby send make everything on this platform space-worthy. So yeah, a bit of zooming around, carefully lining up, trying to avoid that Avenger there. Getting low and in behind it, and ramming speed! No, actually, that was very slow speed. We're not trying to ram this. Oh, kind of stuck underneath it. And yeah, bit of work here. Come on, throttle up. You notice that the engine does actually have different throttle settings. The trail does seem to get stronger and lighter, whatever. Yeah, it's very annoying having to roll 90 degrees to turn towards it. Anyway, as it floats off towards the planet Earth, we jump in a Hornet. Yes, that constellation is falling towards that planet back there, or at least that planet-type body, and it would be a shame if it were to fall into its atmosphere, out of control and with its cargo unsalvaged by people like me. We might even salvage the crew if we could keep them alive to sell for slaves, or something like that. But seriously, yeah, the game is Star Citizen. Things are actually working in secret. This is the cool thing. They may not have intended to share this with us, but it's cool nevertheless. And there goes the Constellation, doomed at last. I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.